श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। अथ त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः. नेक्स्ट इज 13th chapter. 13th, the number 13 is accepted to be inauspicious by some people in the Western countries. This is not so in the Shastra. In traditions, 13 number 13 is accepted to be a very auspicious number. We don't have inauspicious, auspicious number actually. But 13, 18, etc. are good numbers. And that is why this 13 and 13 here in Bhagavad Gita is a very auspicious number, because in this chapter he gives the gist of the clarity of what Jiva and what Jiva is not. Meaning what is inert and what is the consciousness, the sentient one. That clarity is very beautifully given in this 13th chapter. So that is why this chapter itself is called as Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. Kshetrajna Kshetrajna Yoga Vibhaga Yoga. The clarity of difference between what a Kshetra is and who a Kshetrajna is. What a Kshetra is and who a Kshetrajna is, not what a Kshetrajna is. What a Kshetra is and who a Kshetrajna is. Okay? So, ध्यान अभ्यास वशीकृतेन मनसा तन्निर्गुणं निष्क्रियं ज्योतिर्किंचन योगिनो यदि परं पश्यति पश्यन्तु ते अस्माकं तु तदेव लोचन चमत्काराय भूयात् चिरं कालीनदीपुलिनेषु यत्किमपि तन्नीलं महो धावति. So first he brings in the dhyana shloka. We should not be confused by this dhyana shloka. He is trying to bring in a confusion so that he gives you the clarity to you in this chapter, through this chapter. Only when there is confusion, there is clarity possible. So that is why first he is trying to confuse you. How? Dhyana abhyasa vashikritena. This is Mangala Charana for this chapter, this whole chapter, or this whole 6 chapters. ध्यान अभ्यासेन वशीकृतेन मनसा तन्निर्गुणं निष्क्रियं ज्योतिः किंचन योगिनः यदि परं पश्यति पश्यन्तु ते अस्माकं तु तदेव लोचन चमत्काराय भूयात् चिरं कालीनदीपुलिनेषु यत्किमपि तन्नीलं महो धावति. ध्यान अभ्यास वशीकृतेन. ध्यान अभ्यास. What is dhyana? Dhyay Chintayam. Yesterday in Sanskrit class, I was explaining the root Dhyay Chintayam, from which the words Dhyana, Nididhyasana, etc. comes. Dhyay Chintayam, to think, to meditate. So, Dhyana. What is Dhyana basically? Dhyana is Tatra Pratyekatanata Dhyanam. That is what Yoga Sutrakara says. Tatra, in that, Tatra, there, in that means in the object of meditation. Pratyaya ekatanata, having your thought focused. Pratyaya ekatanata means single pointed thought function. Focused thought function is dhyana. So through that practice of dhyana, it is not it is not something which you gain immediately in a single day. No, you have to practice it. You have to bring your mind back to the base whenever it tries to go out of this flow. So through that abhyasa, vashikritena, when the mind is completely under control. Vashikritena manasa means when the mind is brought under control. Means when the mind gets the vairagya called vashikara sanya. Vashikara is the ultimate superior vairagya which the yogis accept. So that vairagya, only when you have that vairagya, we already saw in the previous chapter, when you have that vairagya, you will be able to understand this. Bashikara Sanya, that Vairagya, when the mind gains that Vairagya through this repeated thoughts, Tan Nirgunam, Nishkriyam, Jyotihi, Nirgunam, that means, Tan means that Nirgunam, that attributeless, Nishkriyam, that activityless, changeless, transformationless, Jyotihi. Kriya is transformation activity. So, then that transformationless, Jyotihi, Tad Jyotihi, that which is effulgent, Kinchana Param Yoginaha, Kinchana Param, some absolute. Yadi Yoginaha Pashyanti, if the yogi sees some absolute through this kind of meditation, that absolute which is a attributeless, actionless, and absolute, let them. Pashyantute, let them see. I have no complaints about that. What are you going to see? What do you want to see? Asmatuntu, for us, Asmatuntu, for us, but for us, what happens? Tadeva, that very absolute which you said as activities, etc., attributeless, activityless, etc., that very absolute, Lochana Chamatkaraya, for chamatkara means magical, to create a magic for our eyes, means a beautiful eyesight, a beautiful vision in front of us. Lochana chamatkaraya bhuyat, let it be for us, let it be giving a beautiful vision for us. Chiram, not once, not just a glimpse, chiram, always. How? Where? Kalindi Pulineshu. Kalindi is the name of the serpent on which Krishna danced. No, Kalindi is the name of the river itself. Yamuna itself is called as Kalindi. You can see it in the real name sense now. Dirty, black. I am not making pot shots. I am not taking pot shot. I am not making fun out of it. This is the reality. Yamuna is dirty black today. Okay, all the factory wastages are uh, are left into Yamuna, and it is completely dirty. So that kind of, he is talking about, he was in that factoryless period. So Kalindi Pulineshu, on the banks of that Gange, that Yamuna, yet kimapi, some fine kind of Neelam, that black. Neelam is blue, but here is also for black. Then Neelam, blue or black, whatever color you want to see. Mahodhavati, that great absolute self runs. We want to see that black, beautiful one, which is a blessing to our vision, running on the banks of Ganges. Meaning a nirgunam. You said nirgunam, that black one attribute. You said a nishkriyam. We say we want to see that running. You said a jyotihi, and we said it is black, dark. So it is not effulgent. So that very thing which you see, we see in this form, and for you it is formless, for us it is form. In this way, this is to show the mindset of a devotee. That's all. He is not saying that through the devotion you can gain that. No, he is not. This is to be understood. He is not impressing anyone or trying to gain that absolute through this. He is singing, he is writing whatever he has already gained. So we should not take it as our means. It is for him. He has gained that absolute sense and the knowledge of the absolute, and he is describing it in a form which he wants. That's all. So we should not be confused, and he is not confused in that, because he will make it clear in this very chapter. He says, Prathamam Adhyay Shatkayoho Tattvam Padartho Uktam. So with the first 6 chapters, the Tat Padartha and Tvam Padartha are very clearly established. उत्तरस्तु षट्कः वाक्यार्थनिष्ठः. The second sixth chapter is to establish the sentence using the tat and tvam. Okay. Samyak dhi pradhanah adhuna arabhyate. Now he is beginning this chapter to establish the right knowledge. Words, sentence, now the knowledge through that words and sentence. That's the idea here. Tatra. In that, tesham aham samudhartha mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami iti praguktam. He very clearly said earlier. Tesham aham samudhartha bhavami. Kutah samudhartha? Mrityu samsara sagarat samudhartha. Meaning, tesham aham samudhartha. For them, I become the person who makes them escape, pull them out from what? From what? Mrityu samsara sagara, the samsara, the ocean, sagara, ocean of samsara, which is death, birth and death. So from that, I pull them out. I uplift them. Iti praguttam. This is what Bhagavan said. He promised us. Fine. Nacha अनात्मज्ञान लक्षणात् मृत्युः आत्मज्ञानं विना उद्धरणं संभवति. And the death which is of the nature of ignorance cannot be removed, destroyed, annihilated without the knowledge of self. Tattvajnanena vina, atmajnanam vina, without the knowledge of self, mrityu lakshana anatmajnana lakshana mrityuhu. Death which is of the nature of ignorance cannot be annihilated, destroyed. Atah, therefore, yadrishena atmajnanena mrityu samsara nivrittihi yena cha tattvajnanena yukta adveshtrutvadi gunashalinah sanyasinah pragyakhyatah tat atmatatvajnanam vaktavyam. Therefore, yadrishena atmajnanena mrityu samsara nivritti, with which kind of knowledge of the self you will get rid of the samsara of death. Ye. And tattvajnanena yuktaha, the one who is endowed with the tattvajnana, the right knowledge, they adveshtruttvadi gunashalinah sanyasinah, the people who are endowed with the adveshtrutva, not hating others, etc., those qualities which we saw in the earlier chapter, with those qualities, or in this prajna lakshana, those qualities, who? The sannyasis, the people with vairagya, they pragyakhyata, which was explained earlier. Pragyakhyata, tad atma tattvajnanam vaktavam. That knowledge of self should be established, explained now. Okay. Tacha advitiyena paramatmana saha jivasya abedam eva vishikoti. And what is the subject matter of that? That you want to explain to us. Advitiyena paramatmana, with the non-dual absolute, jivasya abedam eva. The identity of the jiva is what is the subject matter of that atmajnana. The identity of the jiva with the absolute is the subject matter of atmajnana. Tad bheda brahma hetukatvad sarvanarthasya. Because this is the reason, because of the reason that you see it to be different, bheda brahma, the erroneous knowledge of duality. Because of the erroneous knowledge of duality, all the troubles begin. Sarvanarthasya karanam. All the troubles, it's the seed of all the troubles, the cause for all the troubles. Tatra, there. Jivanam samsarinam pratikshetram bhinnanam. Jiva, the samsari, who is different in each kshetra. Kshetra, we'll understand kshetra. I don't know now what the meaning of kshetra is. We'll try to understand the kshetra. Okay? Kshetra, I don't know. We'll try to understand that. Pratishetram bhinnanam. Asamsarina ekena paramatmana katham avedah. Asamsari, who is a jiva, is samsari, who is different from each kshetra. each place, whatever kshetra. And Paramatma is one non-dual who is not different. Now, how can this different one be identical with the non-different? Abhedah syat iti ashankaya. When this doubt arises, samsarasya bhinnattasya cha avidya kalpita anatma dharmatvat. Samsara which you see as duality, bhinnattasya, all the duality is avidya kalpita anatma dharmatvat. It is endowed with the nature of something which is superimposed because of ignorance. It is illusory. That's the idea. Jivasya samsarittam bhinnattam chaiti vachaniyam. And na jivasya. Therefore, there is no duality for the jiva or multiplicity of jiva. This should be explained to the person who asked this question. Now, tadartham dehendriya antakaranebhyah kshetrajnah vivekena kshetrajnah purushah jivah pratikshetram ekah eva nirvikara iti pratipadanaya kshetrajnam vivekah kriyate asmin adhyaye. Tadartham, for this very reason, dehendriya antakaranebhyah, deha indriya antakaranebhyah, from the body, sense organ complex, body, sense organ, mind, from all this, kshetrebhyah, which is called as kshetra. You understand now kshetra? What is kshetra? Kshetra normally is the general meaning is place. Now here kshetra, punya kshetra, etc. we say tirtha kshetra, punya kshetra, all that we add the name kshetra to say it's a place, holy place, etc. So, but here kshetra is the body, sense organ, mind, whichever attribute or adjunct, limiting adjunct we are accepting. That kshetrabhyah vivekena, with the clarity, kshetrajnah purusha jivah pratikshetram ekah nirvikarah iti pratipadanaya. By gaining the clarity of what a kshetrajna is, what a kshetra is, and understanding the kshetrajna, the purusha, the jiva, pratikshetram ekameva, to be one non-dual, identical in all the kshetras, in all these different adjuncts. Nirvikara, he does not undergo any transformation. Iti pratipadana, to establish this, kshetra kshetrajnam vekah kriyate asmin adhyaya. This, in this chapter, we introduce you to the duality of kshetra and kshetrajna. To understand, they are not really. We'll see what they are not really. Tatra ye dve prakriti bhumyadi kshetra surupataya kshetra rupataya jiva rupa kshetrajnataya cha apara para shabdavachye सप्तमाध्याये सूचिते तद्विवेकेन तत्त्वं निरूपयिष्यन्. तत्र ये द्वे प्रकृति भूम्यादि क्षेत्र रूपया, the two things, bhumi etc., which were explained as a kshetra etc. in the seventh chapter. The seventh chapter, Bhagavan said, Prakriti purusham chaiva kshetram kshetrajnam evacha Etad veditum ichhami jnanam nyayam cha keshava. With this, he said what is prakriti and what is purusha and what is kshetrajna and what is kshetrajna, etc. All this duality. So that he wants to understand now. Iti saptamadhyaya suchita, it was referred to in the seventh chapter. Tad vekena, with inquiry into that, tattvam nirupayishyan. Bhagavan desires to establish the truth. Okay. The bhumi etc. is kshetra and jiva rupa kshetrajnataya. Jiva is kshetrajna, which was referred to as apara and para respectively. Apara is the bhumi etc. inert. Para is the sentient conscious kshetrajna. This is going to be explained here. Shri Bhagavan uvacha idam shariram kaunteya kshetramityabhidhiyate yedat yoveti tam prahuhu kshetrajna iti tadvidah. Bhagavan says, idam shariram he kaunteya kshetram iti abhidhiyate yetad yoveti. tam prahuhu kshetrajna iti tadvidah. Idam shariram, hey son of Kunti, idam shariram, this body, kshetramityabhijyate, is referred to as, is said as a kshetra. This body is referred to as, said as kshetra by who? By someone. We will understand who it is. Yetadyo veti tam prahu, one who knows this body, this mind, this sense organ, him they say as a kshetrajna. Who? Tad vidaha, the people who know, who have the clarity about the kshetra and kshetrajna, they say. Okay? Now, idam indriya antakarana sahitam. Idam, this means the sense organ, this mind, etc. Along with that, bhoga aitanam shariyam, this body. The body along with the sense organs and the mind. He Kaunteya, Hoka, son of Kunti, Kshetra Mityabhijyate is said to be Kshetra. Sasyasya iva. Kshetra normally is a place or field. Kshetra is a field. Yuddha Kshetra, the field where battlefield. Okay, so that's also field. So Kshetra is a field. Kshetra is place. Kshetra is a field. Now Sasyasya iva Asmin asakrit karmanaha falasya nivritte. Like from a field, you plant something, you get the result of that. You reap the fruit of that. Sasya means grains. Similarly here, asmin, in this asakrit, without fail, karmanaha falasya nivritte. In this body sense organ complex, you get the result of the karmas. Definitely, without fail. Yetadyo vyeti, one who knows this what? Aham mameti abhimanyate, one who identifies it with this body sense organ complex as I, mine, tam kshetrajna iti prahu. He is referred to as kshetrajna. Krushi balavat tat phala bhoktrutvat. Why he is called as kshetrajna? Kshetram janati iti kshetrajna. One who knows the kshetra is a kshetrajna. Like the one who knows his field is the farmer. Krishi balavat means like a farmer. This fellow is the experiencer, therefore he is called a kshetrajna. Tad vidaha. By it is said by, this is said to be kshetra and this is said to be kshetrajna. This inert is called as kshetra and the sentient is called a kshetrajna. Who by whom? Tad vidaha, by the knower of that. Those two. Meaning kshetra kshetrajna or veka vidaha. People who have the complete discriminative knowledge of what kshetra and what kshetrajna is. They call this. Atra. Cha abhidhyate iti karmani prag. See, beautiful. With Sanskrit, some sense of the word, what you refer to is made clear. I am saying what is sentient and what is. How did you get? Where did you get this idea from? What is sentient and what is inert? You'll see this. Atra cha abhidhyate iti karmani prayogena. Here there is a passive voice usage. Through that, kshetrasya jadatvat karmatvam. Kshetram. Idam shariram. Kshetram. Second case. Second case is karma. And karma means object. Iti jadatvat karmatvam. Kshetra shabde cha. Dvitiyam. Second case is used to refer to that as object. Objects are inert. Therefore, vina eva iti shabdena. Dvitiya means without even dvitiya, iti shabdena, kshetrajna iti. Without saying kshetrajnam iti, he says kshetrajnyaha iti. Kshetrajnyaha means first case, subject. So, vina eva iti shabda mahatmya iti shabdam aharan suprakashatvad karmatva abhav abhipreti. Since it is subject, it is referred with that iti, he is referring to that as not an object but as self-effulgent. Suprakashatvam. By saying it as iti in quotes, he is referring to that as a not karma. Not a karma. Krishna iti, Rama iti means you are referring to a person, the subject. Similarly, here you are referring to this kshetrajna iti. So you are referring to a subject which is sentient. Subjects are sentient, objects are inert. So tatrapi. This need not be so. Ramaha, Ramam. Ramam, you say Ramam, is Ramam inert? No, but he is used as a instrument for by this fellow, as an inert, as an object by this fellow. So Ramam also is a inert. He is not using the sentiency. Tatra api, even there. Kshetram yehi kaichit api abhijiyate na tatra kartrup gata visheshana apeksha. Here also, kshetram yehi kaishita abhidhyate. Whoever it uses this kshetra, word kshetra, na tatra kartagata visheshana apeksha. There, that kshetra, when you say kshetra, whoever uses this word kshetra, when he says kshetram, then he is not dependent upon the kartagata visheshana, the attributes of the doer. It need not be there in that object. Kshetrajnam too, but with reference to that, the kshetrajna, karmatvam antrena eva, without any association. See, there need not be any association. There will not be any association of subject in the object. But similarly in the subject, there is no association of the object. In the object, there is no association with the subject. In the subject, there is no association with the object. Karmatvam antareneva vekinaha eva ahu. Without any association with the subject, object, the vekis, the people who have discrimination, they say. Stula drisham agochartva. Viveki means one who has subtle intellect. Because this cannot be understood by people who have gross intellect, gross vision, gross intellect. Iti kathitam, to show that vilakshana vachana vyaktya ekatra kartrupada upadanena cha nirdishati Bhagavan. Vilakshana vachana vyaktya, by using two different vachanas, two different vibhaktis, two different declensions. Bhagavan says this kartrupada upada by showing this doership, etc. Evam dehendriyadi vilakshanam saprakasham kshetrajnam abhidaya. So from this we understand the body sense organ complex is not a kshetrajna. It is different from the kshetrajna. Therefore, kshetrajna is differentiated from the body sense organ complex. Tasya paramarthikam, and that kshetrajna is established as, is to establish that kshetrajna as a absolute, paramarthikam, absolute. Tattvam, paramarthikam tattvam, asamsari paramatmana aikyamaha. And it is the reality, it is not samsari, and it is non-dual with the absolute. To show that, he says, what is non-dual with the absolute? This kshetrajna. The kshetrajna is the absolute. To show that, he says, kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarvakshetreshu bharata kshetrajnyor jnanam yattat jnanam matam mama. Beautiful. Kshetrajnam cha api mam vidhi sarvakshetreshu, he bharata, kshetrajnyoho jnanam yat tad jnanam matam mama. Kshetrajnam cha api mam vidhi. Know me to be the kshetrajna. Where? In this body. Sarvakshetreshu, in all the body sense organ complex, know me to be the kshetrajna. The self to be the kshetrajna. Kshetrajnayoho jnanam. This knowledge of duality, the clarity between what is kshetra and what is kshetrajna, yad jnanam, that duality, that knowledge, tad jnanam iti me matam. That is what is knowledge according to me. This is pot. Pot knowledge. Knowledge of pot. I gained the knowledge of pot. This is glass. I gained the knowledge of glass. So all these knowledge, as you call as knowledge, they are not really knowledge. They are in the realm of ignorance. In the realm of ignorance, there can be no knowledge. whatever you call as knowledge in the realm of ignorance is also ignorance. It can be adjectified if it can be. It can be adjectified if at all it can be adjectified. It can be adjectified only as special ignorance and common ignorance. What is special ignorance and common ignorance? It cannot be adjectified. Ignorance is abhava swarupa. It cannot be adjectified. So, just for fun, that is the real knowledge. The others, whatever you call as knowledge, is not knowledge. सर्वक्षेत्रेषु यः एकः क्षेत्रज्ञः स्वप्रकाश चैतन्य रूपः नित्यः विभुश्च तम् among in all the kshetras, in all the places, in all the embodiments, yaha ekah kshetrajnah, one non-dual, that which one non-dual exists. So prakash chaitanya rupa, of the nature of effulgence and consciousness, nityah, eternal, vibhuscha, all pervading, tam avidya adhyaropita kartrutva bhoktruttvadi samsara dharmam. In that absolute, through the superimposition because of ignorance, you see the doership, experiencership, etc., which is the samsara, which is the nature of samsara. Kshetrajnam avidyaka rupa parityagena, that samsara rupa dharmam of the kshetrajna. Kshetrajna is endowed with this superimposed ideas. Okay, that is the base. Tam kshetrajnam avidyaka rupa parityagena, by removing him from adhyaropa apavada, by doing the apavada, by removing it from the superimposed ignorant objects or the objects of ignorance. Avidyaka, avidya karya, the avidya's effects, whatever it is, from its association, if you remove it, parityagana, by giving them up, mam ishwaram, me, the ishvara, asamsarinam, one who is not a samsari, advitiya, brahma ananda surupam, one who is non-dual absolute bliss, vidhi, no. So you are seeing yourself to be doer, experiencer, etc., because of the association with the ignorance and its effect. By giving up the association with the ignorance and effect, you see me, I, the absolute. Hey Bharata. Evam cha kshetram maya kalpitam mithya. Therefore, we understand the kshetra itself. The field itself is an object of ignorance. It is illusory. Kshetrajna and the kshetrajna paramartha satya tat brahma adhishthanamiti. The kshetrajna is the absolute reality and is the substratum for that illusory. Because if you are going to superimpose something, any superimposition requires a substratum. There can be no superimposition without a substratum. So this substratum, this which as though exists as the substratum for the superimposition, that is the reality. That substratum is the reality. Know that. Kshetra kshetrajnyoh yat jnanam tadeva moksha sadhanam sadhanatvat. The knowledge between the kshetra and kshetrajna, that is the knowledge, because that is the means for moksha. Moksha sadhanatvat jnanam. Avidya virodhi. Prakasha Rupam. Why do you call it knowledge? Because knowledge is contrary to ignorance. This is contrary to ignorance, not anything else. Therefore, that is self-effulgence. No, what do you say? You cannot say that it is knowledge of objects is not knowledge. Because that also removes the ignorance about the object. True. Partially. I'm not saying true when we say satyam, when we say it is partial acceptance, not real acceptance. Okay. The planets are from Mercury, Venus, etc. till Pluto. There are 9 planets. Yes. No, wait. There are only 8 planets. What? Pluto is not a planet. Pluto is removed from the group of planets. Now, whatever you thought as a knowledge suddenly became ignorance. Because these people decided to remove Pluto from the planet list. So it became an ignorance. How can it become ignorance? Knowledge became. You say Pluto is a planet. That is not right. If it is not right, it is erroneous knowledge. It is not knowledge. Erroneous knowledge is ignorance. Do you understand? So the whole idea of knowledge in objects is mithya, is illusory. They are not real. Mama matam anyat anyatva jnanameva tad virodhitvat ityabhipraya. This is to be understood. Anyatva jnanameva tad virodhitvat. The knowledge that it is different is the contradiction. We have to understand this. We are teaching Advaita, non-duality. Here the knowledge of duality is what will give you realization. The knowledge that drishya is different from drik. What is this? Knowledge of non-duality is wrong. Knowledge of duality is what will give you moksha. How can that be? Yes. Understand this. That is why I said understand this. When we say world, I see pot, cloth, etc. Why? Because there is consciousness associated with each. Pot associated consciousness. Gata avachinna chaitanya. Pata avachinna. In everything there is consciousness. That is why I am able to perceive it. Okay, this is why it is called as Satyanrute Mithuni Krutya. Satya and Anruta are Mithuni Krutya, are bound together. You have no idea of what is real and what is illusory. You have absolutely no idea. That is the reason. It's not your problem. It is the problem of ignorance. So you have you are seeing the real to be illusory and illusory to be real. The right to be wrong and wrong to be right. So what we see is you have to differentiate the right and wrong. You have to differentiate the real and the illusory. This anyatva jnana, this knowledge of difference, that I am not the inert object, I am the absolute, is what is going to bring you to realization, to moksha. That is why he says anyatva jnanam tad virodhitva. It is different from me, therefore that is the only knowledge which will be removing the ignorance. Therefore that is what you have to work for. Atra jiveshwarayoho avidyakah vedah. Here the duality between jiva and ishvara is based on ignorance. It is because of ignorance. Paramatikastu abeda ityatra yuktaya bhashikruti varata. And in absolute sense, there is only non-duality. For this, the logic is very beautifully established by not one, hundreds of logics is established by Bhagan Bhashyakara in this very place. Asmavihitu, but we, Grantha Vistara Bhaya, because of the fear of the text becoming extensive, we are not going to give it. If you want to understand it, go to the Bhashya. Wait, you are cheating us. Then your text is not complete text. You should explain this also. Otherwise, how can your text be valid proof? For that he says, Vistara Bhayat, yes, wait a second. Prageva Bahuda Uktatvacha. And I have explained this earlier in multiple places, multiple ways. Therefore, iti na upanyastaha. Here I have not explained it. So, Bhagavan Bhashyakara is explained, and we are afraid the text will become extensive if I am going to add that also here. B. And C is I have already explained it, therefore I am not explaining it again here. Sanshepena uktamartham vivaritum arabhati. So whatever was explained in brief, in gist, is explained in detail. Is going to be explained in detail. For that he is beginning this. तत्क्षेत्रज्ञं तत्क्षेत्रं यच्च यादृक् यद्विकारी यतश्च यत् स च यो यत्प्रभावश्च तत्समासेन मे शृणु तत्क्षेत्रं यत् च यादृक् च यद्विकारी यतश्च यत् स च यो यत्प्रभावश्च तत्समासेन मे शृणु तत्समासेन मे शृणु from me listen from me Tatsamasena in brief, in gist. Samasa is the word which you use for compound words in Sanskrit. Samasa. In Vedanta and other philosophies, we use this word samasa for a brief explanation. If it is going to be a detailed explanation, we call it vyasa. Samasa vyasa paddhati, we say. Like, I'll give an example. If I am going to talk about ignorance, avidya, I can give a lecture on avidya for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes. That is in brief. If I am going to give a lecture on avidya for 6 months, then it is going to be in detail. What can you give for 6 months? I can say what avidya is, what it is not, where it is, where it is not, how it is, how it is not, what are the different kinds, where and all it exists, where and all not, all the different ideas of avidya by different authors, acharyas, in detail. So that is the difference here. Tat samasena. So I am going to give you in brief. Wait, that's a confusion. Let us go before this shloka. What does he say? Sankshepena uktamartham. That which is said in brief, in gist. Vivaritum arabhate. He is bringing to explain. He is beginning this to explain it in detail. In the commentary, he says he is going to explain it in detail. And Bhagavan himself says that samasena me shruno. Listen to me in gist. How can they be right? Do you see the contradiction? Here the commentator says Vivaritum Arabate. He is beginning this to explain it in detail. And Bhagavan himself says that samasena I am going to give you in gist, in brief. How can they be? Both be right. One of them is wrong. For that, I will give you an explanation. See, for us, 1,000 years is equivalent to a second of Bhagwan's time, right? So Bhagwan, if he is going to give in just in brief, it is going to be in books for us. So that is the idea. Okay, tatra kshetram. Now understand what kshetra is. Tatra kshetram, that kshetra, yatcha, whatever it is, yadrishcha, whatever, in whichever way it is, yad vikari, whatever is its transformation and whatever is transformed from, yatascha yat, whatever came from which and whichever came from what, that all that, sacha yaha, and the other one, sacha yaha, that saha means that person, that kshetrajna. We spoke about kshetra. Now that kshetrajna, whatever that kshetrajna is, yet prabhavascha, whatever its glory, that samasena, that I am going to explain in brief. Listen to me. Tadidam shariramiti. Tat shruno means listen carefully. That's the first idea. Okay. Tadidam shariramiti praguktam jada varga rupam. Tat idam means this. This means the body sense organ complex. This whatever you refer to normally is inert. So this which was explained as earlier as body sense organ complex, which is the inert object, kshetram, which is referred to as kshetra here, yaccha surupena jada drishya parichannatva bhavam. Yaccha, whatever is its nature, means in reality it is a jada drishya parichanna subhavam, means inherently it is a inert, it is a drishya, it is seen and it is limited. These are the three reasonings which we give to establish something is mithya. Jadatvad, Drishyatvad, Parichannatvad. Those three he is giving here. Okay, so he is establishing it clearly that they are mithya. Yadrikcha, Icha Dharma, Ichadi Dharmakam. Yadrik, in whichever form it is, means with desire, etc. All these attributes. Yad Vikari, Yehi Indriyadi Vikarehi Yuktam. Whichever attributes, whichever body, sense, organ complex, etc. transformations it is endowed with. Yatascha Karanat, from whichever cause it came. Karim Utpadyate iti. Whatever, from whichever cause it became as a effect, and whichever effect became from whichever cause, that iti shesha. That is the idea here. Asava or Yataha Prakriti Purusha Sanyoga Bhavati. Because of which the Prakriti Purusha, because of which Prakriti Purusha Sanyoga, the association of Prakriti and Purusha, which was asked by Arjuna in the beginning, that Prakriti Purusha Sanyoga Bhavati, yad in the Satyanrute Nuthini Krutya. Prakriti Purusha Sanyoga means Satyanrute Nuthini Krutya. Okay? Yaditi Yahi Stavar Jangamadi Bhedai Vedavihi Vedahi Bhinnatvam Ityat. Vedahi Bhinnam Ityat. Meaning Yaditi. It is different. Yad is singular. He is taking it as different, plural. Meaning it is seen in different forms of moving and non-moving, etc. Means as plants, animals, etc. So all these different forms, whichever is seen, that kshetra atra aniyamena chakara prayogat sarva samachyo ishtabhya. So without any reason he is bringing cha. So you have to bring everything together in one form for one object. That is the idea. Such a kshetrajnaha yaha swarupatah. So that other kshetrajna, whichever is that which is in inherent nature, Swaprakasha Chaitanya Ananda Subhava. Swaprakasha, self-effulgent, Chaitanya, consciousness, Ananda, bliss. Existence, knowledge, bliss. Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is Swaprakasha, effulgence. So that Satchidananda Subhava, Yet Prabhavascha, Ye Prabhavaha Upadhikritaha Shakteha. With Prabha, the glories are normally because of the embodiments. See, I am powerful. Because I have a body, I am powerful. I have a body which is powerful enough to be powerful. You cannot say he also has a body. Let him do that. It is not possible. See, some people won gold medal in the Commonwealth Games. I cannot do that because their embodiment is different. My embodiment is different. Upadhikritaha. That is why he says Upadhikrita Shakteha. The power based on the Upadhis. Ishvara does something which I cannot do. I do something which you cannot do. So this Upadhikrita Bhedaha. And what I do, Ishvara cannot do. I am seeing things in duality. Ishvara can never do that, right? So, yasya, touch, even if he tries, he cannot see things in duality. See, I have a special power. That is what we can say when we challenge Ishvara. You cannot do like me, right? So, tat kshetrajna yathatmyam yasya tat kshetrajna yathatmyam sarva vishesha vishishtam samasena chanchepena. That idea about the kshetra and sacha, he said. So that also and this also about the kshetra and about the kshetrajna. Whatever attributes it is endowed with, whatever specialities it is endowed with, in all detail, samasena, in brief, sankhepena, in just me mama vachanat, from listen from me, listen from my words. Listen means what kind of listening? There are three kinds of listening. Do you know that? There is a temple in Suchindram in Kanyakumari district called Suchindram temple. Suchindram. Okay. The temple is of Tanumalaya Swami. Tanumalaya is a temple of Vishnu, Shiva, Brahma, all. In that temple, there are three statues. Beautiful statues. You have to see that. A round stone ball inside the mouth of a lion. The ball is individually rotating. That's all different. I am not talking about that. There are three statues. Let us come to the statues. There are holes. Okay, so there is a hole in one statue. If you put a wire or a thread inside, it will come from this ear to the other ear. Okay, this is the first statue. The second statue is if you put a wire or something, it will come through its mouth. The third statue, if you put a wire inside, it will not come through any of these holes. It will just disappear. The idea is the first statue, this fellow, he listens from this ear and leaves it in that ear. He doesn't care to listen. The second statue, he will listen, but he will go and talk, tell others. He is not trustworthy. There are people who study for the sake of teaching, just for the sake of teaching. I already told you, first we have to apply the oxygen mask first for ourselves and then help others, like we saw in the flights. So first we have to work for our realization, then we can work for others. So this idiot, the mission groups, all any mission, whether it's whatever mission it is, doesn't really matter. All these missions, they are interested in uplifting others. They don't want to uplift themselves. Okay, so that is the second. The third one is he takes it into his ear and puts it in the heart. That is what you have to do. Shrutva avadharayati. After listening, be established in it, have clarity in it. So that is what Bhagavan says now. You listen to this, the clarity about the Kshetra, what is Kshetrajnan, what is Kshetra, and understand it clearly. We will see. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.